Alright, so this is for the lip sync. And I'll just show you an example real fast.
If you were waiting for the opportune moment, that was it.
And one more.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. No.
So I don't know how well if you heard that or not, but you're going to pick out a video clip and then you're going to lip sync to it. Now, I would highly recommend that you do download this document just because it has the guides that you're going to be drawing, as well as instructions. I'll walk you through these instructions, but you can see that it shows you what kind of these letters. So you're going to be doing these 9 faces in Flash. Okay. So first things first is I was messing with something, so I'll just delete that there. And you can go ahead and I'm going to start with the letter A. So I'll just start out with a line. I did the line tool and I set the stroke to 5 so it'd be a little thicker. Don't leave it at 1. It just looks really thin. And then I'm going to go ahead and drag it down. And then do another line. And you want to make sure there are no gaps. Okay, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So you do the basics. So if you look at the guides for the letter A in that Word document, it looks something like that. Maybe I'll stretch it out a little bit more. And then I also need to use the paintbrush. I'm going to start it as black as well. And I want to, that'll be the tongue. Now I can take this paint bucket. Well, actually, no, let me use the paintbrush to do the little smiley lines first before I move on. Okay, so now I'm going to use the paint bucket to, and if you see, I've got a stroke color of pink. So to kind of choose the color, and then I can just switch between black using the swap colors so that my fill is pink. So I'll fill in the tongue. And then I'll switch it so it's going back to black, and I'll fill in the mouth. So this is kind of what a cartoon type mouth looks like when it says the letter A. And if you even think about A and think about what you look like, that's kind of what a human person looks like when they're saying the letter A. So then you select the entire thing, and you go to modify and you convert to symbol. And graphics good, registration, so then I'll just enable this one A and say OK, and then I'll just delete it, because it's in my library now. Okay, see, there it is. Okay, so now I draw the next one. So the next one is O. So for O, I'll just take the oval tool. And I don't want to have a stroke on it though, so I need to set that to nothing. And I'll just draw kind of an oval sort of O, you know. And then a line that's going to be below. Oops, except for I don't want that. I want the line to be also black. And I use my selection tool to bring it down. Now when you select the whole thing, before I do anything, I'll go modify, align, horizontal centers. That'll make it so they're centered over each other. And that one's O. O is pretty easy, so convert to symbol, label it O, and OK. So delete that one, move on to the next letter, E. E is, you know, takes a little more time, so start out with my line. And I'll curve it a little bit. That'll be the top. Go back to my line, and once again you want to make sure there are no gaps so that when I go to fill it in, there won't be any problems with the paint bucket. So make that go down. I need lines for the teeth. So E, when you think about saying the letter E, you have both your top and your bottom teeth show. And then I'll use the paint brush and flip it so it's black, and I'll paint the tongue. Once again, you want to make sure things touch so that I can use the paint bucket. Switch it to pink because I want to make sure that I'm consistent. The color of your tongue on one frame should be the exact same color of your tongue on the other. Switch it back to black and fill that in. Okay, and that's kind of E. Oh wait, I want to use my paintbrush to do that. Okay, so now I would just go ahead and select that. Modify, convert to symbol. This one is the letter E, and we're a third of the way done when it comes to the drawing. All right. Now, the W and the R are a little trickier. You do need to use the paintbrush for these in order to kind of fill it correctly. So I'm going to kind of paintbrush. Okay. Not bad, but I'll select it. And then do Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste. Go up to Modify, Transform, and Flip Horizontal. Whoops, nope, Flip Vertical. Transform, Flip Vertical, and there we go. And that looks pretty good. If yours has too big of a gap, you can actually click on these lines and you know, zoom in and move things around a little bit so they don't have that little, you know. Okay. Now, if you think about doing W, who kind of, there's a little bit of tongue showing. So we're just going to make it so there's kind of a straight line. Oh, except for it needs to be in black. So I'll just flip those. And that's going to be where the tongue is visible. And then I'm going to do a line on the top. And a line on the bottom. So these are kind of showing the lips. It might be a little far away, so I think I'll move it down. And then I'll use my paint bucket to fill this one in with pink. And flip it and fill this one in with black. Oops. And let me fix that line because it needs to be black. There we go. Once again, I'm going to do the select, modify, transform, align, horizontal centers, so they're centered. And then convert to symbol. This one stands for both W and R, so I'll call that one WR. And we're good. I'll delete that and start on T and S. T and S is an easy one because it's just, we're just making it so that the T, only the teeth are going to basically show on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and do the line, do a second line, curve it, not too much. I'm going to show the lip a little bit on this one. And then with my paintbrush, I'll just do the little cheek thing. And that is both T and S. So I select them, modify, convert to symbol, label this one T, S, and OK. And then I'll delete it. Okay, L and N, a little trickier, but not too bad. Just drawing the tongue to actually look good is the hard part about this one. So it'll be slightly curved. So I'm just using my line tool for most all of these. It's almost completely the line tool. The line tool and the paintbrush. So there's the bottom of the mouth. Here's the top. We're going to have the teeth showing a little bit at the top for L. And then we've got to draw the tongue. So this part's always the part that I struggle with a little bit, is making it actually look like a tongue. So if you want to refer to the guide, oh, the tongue is just going to touch the teeth just a little bit, come back. And that looks okay. It'll look better once it's been colored. So I'll fill that in, and oh, I lost my pink. Well, I'm going to need to, and for your case, you'll want to make sure that you keep track, because I have a feeling this is a slightly different pink. You just want to make sure it is going to be the exact same color. Okay. Actually, I think that is the same pink I've been using. Okay. You just got to make sure you're using the same color every time. And then paintbrush, flip it back to black. And there we go. There's L and N. So select that. If I'm going too fast, you can always ask for help in class and I'll help you. I'm just trying to make sure to get this all done in the time that I've got. So L and N. Okay. So I've got U and Q and M and B and P and F. And honestly, those ones are all really, really easy. So I'm going to stop here. And if you have any trouble with the last three, let me know. But if you just look at this thing, you'll see U and Q is very similar to O, just maybe a little bit more, you know, well, think about how you say O and how you say U. They're very, very similar. Okay, M, just kind of a closed mouth. And actually, I am going to use M. And B and P, I'm going to use those. Make that one right now because we need it. Because that's kind of the resting position. So please let me know in class if you need to get any assistance with those last three. But I am going to do this last one, M, oops, because this is also kind of the not talking, the start. So curve it just a little bit, and then I'm going to use a line and curve that just a little bit as well. And then use the paintbrush too. Oh, once again, my things are pink. Okay. So modify, convert to symbol. This one is M, B, and P, as well as kind of resting face, not talking. So this is actually a really good face to start with. Okay. Now you'll create another layer. And you make sure you're on frame 1. And what you'll do is you'll go File, Import, Import to Library, and in the Digital Media folder, Shared, R. Madison Resources, there's a folder called Movie VO, meaning voiceover. And you'll see there's some here. The Toy Story one hasn't really been working very well, but you know, you can try some others. So you just click on the one you want to use. I've already loaded up all of them. And I'm going to do the Star Wars, Your Lack of Faith. You drag it onto the stage. And now you'll see that there's sound there. And it only goes to 65. So I can actually click here and insert a keyframe. And for this one here, go ahead and I'm going to insert a blank keyframe. And the rest of this, I'm going to right click and I'm going to remove frames. So depending on which audio clip you choose depends on how long this is going to go. You also want to make sure on layer 3 in your properties that you set the sync to stream. Now that's going to make it so that the sound plays. So this first layer 2 where my mouth is, you'll see that it goes there and then. So this first little section here is Darth Vader saying I. So if I think about which one, when you think about your mouth and what it does when you say I, it kind of looks like E. I. So I would go and I would find the E and I would insert a blank keyframe. Then I would turn on onion skinning so I can see where this mouth was, because I don't want this to jump around. So what I would need to do is, honestly, my first one is a little too low. So we'll move him up so that when I go to this frame, I gotta expand my, okay. So I need to make it, and my E is a lot larger, so I would use my free transform tool to kind of shrink it down so it matches a little better. It's okay if it grows a little bit, because your mouth does kind of expand, but I want to kind of nudge it, so there we go. So they match pretty well. So he says I. And then you're just going to keep doing that. So I, and then he'd do find. So I would then insert a blank keyframe. And I would put on the next one. I didn't do F, but I would click and drag the next one out. Okay, so if you have any questions on this, let me know. My time's about to run out because I have a 15-minute time limit. But once you're done, it'll just look like the person is talking.